What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ariel if you didn't know. So today's video is going to be all about placement on tweezers. So this is for my beginners. It is literally the hand placement on your tweezers, whether it is an isolation tweezer or a placement tweezer. I'm going to quickly run through the actual placement that you want your hands to be when you're applying lashes, when you're isolating lashes, to make sure that your fingers don't hurt, make sure you are getting the optimal amount of efficiency from your tweezers, and make sure your sets run super smooth. Okay, so I'm gonna be using two tweezers today. So I have my curved isolation tweezer and then I have my J tweezer. If you guys know about our Flourish products, this one is super new. It is our Mega J tweezer in silver, so go check that out. The link will be in the description below. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to pick up your tweezers and where your fingers should be placed to make sure that nothing cramps and you're able to get the exact pressure you need on your tweezers. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first one is my isolation tweezer. This is my curved tweezer. So when you pick up your isolation tweezer, you wanna make sure that your first finger and your thumb are what is holding your tweezers, because that's where you're gonna get the most control and the most leverage from your tweezers. So you wanna make sure that they're not too low. They never wanna be touching the tip of your tweezers. That is super uncomfortable. And then you never want them to be too high either, because if they're too high here, it's gonna be harder for you to get any type of precision or actual grip in the sweet spot of the tweezer. So if you notice where the actual biggest opening of the tweezer is, it's in this area. So obviously here has a nice big opening because it gets thinner, but your fingers want to be somewhere around here. Exactly where they actually have a curve is kind of the indication on where you want your fingers to be. So you want to make sure that you're holding it where you actually get the most control realistically, because especially with isolation tweezers, you want to make sure that you have enough control that you can open and close the tweezers right when you need them to, because you're dealing with such a small, fine, precise lash. You need to have as much control as possible. Okay, so when you're holding your isolation tweezer is going to be on your left hand if you're right-handed, and then if you are left-handed, your isolation is going to be in your right hand. So your isolation tweezer is always in your non-dominant hand, because what happens is the placement tweezer is the one that you want to do most of the work, so you need the precision on your dominant hand. So when you're holding your isolation tweezer with your non-dominant hand, for me it's my left hand, I'm gonna make sure that the edge of my tweezer is kind of bracing on my knuckle. So that way I have the most control. If it's not, if it's kind of like too angled and flopping in the air, it's kind of doing its own thing, and the weight of the tweezer is gonna kind of go against you and really just not give you any type of precision. Okay, so the next one is the placement tweezer. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys exactly how to hold your placement tweezers. So the one I'm talking about is our J tweezer. So it has a nice little curve at the base here, but it also has a nice little curve up here. So it kind of indicates where your fingers should be. Another thing you wanna know about your placement tweezer is that you wanna make sure, again, with the opening, that you have enough of the opening where your fingers are, so that way you're able to kind of pick up the lash and place it and let go when you need to. You never want it to prematurely let go based on the pressure here. When your fingers are too high, you have to definitely give it more force and put more pressure on your fingers to actually close the tweezers. And that, I can already feel it. It cramps your finger up here. It's cramping my entire hand, especially if you have to do that for 2, 3, maybe 4 hours. If you go too low here, your fingers can, or your tweezers can easily kind of slip and slide, because there's not enough of the tweezer here to actually hold onto and have a secure grip. That's why when you're holding on here, it gives you enough leverage. The other thing is that you want to make sure that your tweezers, like I kind of mentioned with the isolation tweezers, is that it's braced up on here. You never want your tweezers to be in between your hand like that. I feel like sometimes it can get stuck there and you don't know if it's right or wrong. You never want that to happen, because the whole point of holding your tweezers is you need to maneuver your fingers and your hands to get to the right spot. And if you're doing that, it kind of, if your tweezers are in between here, it stops you from being able to open and close the way you need to. So again, it needs to be braced up here, and then that way you're not holding too far or too close. And the nice thing about these ones here is it has a little grip here. So what happens is when you hold it, it actually supports your fingers and it doesn't allow your fingers to slip and slide. So that way they're not kind of going all over the place. You get a little extra grip there. The last thing I want to talk about is not just your fingers here. Of course, your thumb and your first finger are the fingers you're going to use to pick up your tweezers always, but it's these guys over here. So it's really where these are placed or positioned. So you never want your fingers to be like this. I feel like this is a very common reaction, is to point out your pinky and then kind of go like this. But what happens is you're straining the rest of your hand muscles. And what happens is you definitely will cramp. So if you're actually holding your client's forehead with the last 3 fingers, you're kind of giving it that support where you won't get the strain on your wrist. That one's super important because you never want to be done a set and have your hands start to cramp up, or even kind of strike any type of reaction to maybe getting carpal tunnel or anything like that. That way you're able to kind of give your hand a nice steady support, and that way you're not straining any muscles in your wrist or hand. Okay, so something to keep in mind, especially for my beginner lash artists out there, that when you are doing lashes for the first time and you have your first few models, you're practicing, your hands do tend to cramp up a little bit because you are so focused and learning a new skill. It takes time to kind of relax and get into the groove of things. So don't be alarmed if your hands are actually getting a little cramped at the beginning, but it will literally relax as soon as you get into the hang of it. And then you get that muscle memory in your hand as well, so you won't have to worry about it after. And then also something to keep in mind as well is that because you're using your non-dominant hand for something so precise, it does feel a bit awkward and it does take some adjusting. So once you get that as well, you'll be in a totally different position than you are right now. Okay guys, that is it for this video. I hope that you loved it. Don't forget to shop Flourish Lashes. That'll be in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back with something new next time. Bye.